Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we have something a little bit different today. There's actually a car in my garage. In 3.5 years of owning this house and garage, I've never had a car in here. So yeah, now we got a broken one. So this is my neighbor's vehicle. They approached me a few weeks back asking if I could do a little repair for them here because they got some damage in their quarter panel and bumper. And I figured this would be a great opportunity to make a video for the masses on YouTube and just explain a few common misconceptions. A lot of people are very unfamiliar with the amount of work that goes into fixing a vehicle like this, doing the paint work, doing the body work, all that jazz. And a lot of people are just really unfamiliar with the costs, thinking it'll be a lot cheaper for them to just do it themselves, which if they want it done properly, isn't necessarily the case. One thing I do want to stress in these videos is how to do things properly. So there's a few areas where I don't want to say I'm going to be cutting corners, but I'm doing things a little bit differently than I would in a shop. A big one with that is the quarter glass. We won't be pulling the quarter glass in this case. I don't necessarily like to do that, but I want to keep this repair somewhat inexpensive for my neighbor and still do a good job. And I find 99% of the time, if paint does fail around like a window like this, if it hasn't been removed, it's probably just due to bad prep work. There is a nice rubber seal going all the way around here, so there is a lot of room for me to get in there and prep. So we'll just do a really good job scuffing in there, and that'll solve that issue. So I'll probably end up making a few videos here. This will just be the first of the few. Probably just do the disassembly and get it into the metalwork tomorrow on this video, and then we'll get into some more of the repair after that. Another thing I'm going to touch on in these videos is the cost to do it all. I'll probably do a full price breakdown in a final video once I'm done with the vehicle, just because as of right now I do have a bit of a time frame that I have to get this done in, so I don't want to be taking too long to be trying to make videos of it. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between chatting with you guys on camera and then just doing a voiceover afterwards. I'll try to explain as much as I can to the camera while I'm working on things so I can sort of show you how it's done. But if I miss anything, I'll try to add it in afterwards. Then if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me questions down in the comments here. If you guys like this video today, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And as we go here, I'll try to explain which tools I'm using, how I'm using them. A lot of my tools are going to be professional grade tools from Mac Tools, Snap-on, things like that. You can get away if you're in a garage using more budget-oriented stuff. Astro Pneumatic, I actually have a few of those as well. Mastercraft, whatever you can get your hands on, really. So let's take a minute to talk about the paint on here too. This is Ford RR, which is ruby red. This is a candy, so there's actually tint in the clear coat on top of the base coat here. So I'm going to be spraying Sikkens base coat on this, followed by Imperium, also made by Akzo Nobel. Imperium, what is it, 2K Euro Performance Clear. And a lot of people are probably going to be wondering why the heck I'm spraying Sikkens in my garage, a waterborne base coat. And that's just because I know the color's going to match. I recently made the transition into a heavy-duty shop, so now I paint like heavy trucks and equipment, things like that. However, I was in a shop spraying Sikkens for 3.5 years, and Sikkens Ruby Red in their 2.0 color is bang on almost every time. So that's what I chose to spray in here. In a garage, it's not going to be great. There's a good chance it's going to take a really long time to flash off being a waterborne and not a solvent-based paint. Health-wise, though, it is a little bit better. I'm still going to be wearing a respirator and whatnot. We'll touch on the PPE as we get further into the video as well. Another thing I want to mention too before we get into it is that every repair is going to be different. Every vehicle has different manufacturer recommended procedures, and if those procedures aren't followed and the vehicle gets into an incident down the road, whether it's yours or if you sold it to someone else, you can be liable for any death or injury that happens from that. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Another thing too, like sensors are a huge thing on modern cars. A lot of vehicles now have sensors behind your plastic bumpers, front and rear, whether it's blind spot radar, adaptive cruise, the self-parking nonsense, all that stuff, if it isn't repaired properly, can cause issues down the road, and in some cases they require you to buy new parts versus repairing. So I'm going to do a quick scan on the vehicle here, then we're going to disconnect the battery because we will be welding on it as well. It's always good to do when you're disconnecting electrical bits and pieces like tail lights and so on and so forth, just so you're not screwing with the computer. Let's get to it. Alright, so we're just going to do a quick little scan here. I have a launch scan tool from Mac Tools. Definitely not something that's necessary for the average person at home, but since we have it, we will go to town with it. Alright, so we got one fault on the BCM body control module. Oh, nice. That is all. So let's just have a look at it, see what it is. Alright, so we got our left front door ajar. I'm glad that's reading properly. Battery monitoring module. And right-hand low-beam circuit. Okay, so nothing that's related to anything we're working on. I'll probably delete those for my neighbor once I'm done all the repairs just to be nice, but nothing drastic on there. That's good. All right, let's have a little talk about space here too while I'm disconnecting the battery. So as you can see, we're wedged right against the front of my garage door here. I've got a decent sized garage, not huge. It's a 20 by 24 foot, or 22 by 24, or 22 by 22, something like that. Like not huge, but it's a detached double car garage. Not a lot of room once you get any kind of stuff in here. As you've seen in my other videos, I got workbenches along the back edge of the garage, and there's no battery up here. Well, that's disappointing. Never mind, found the battery. Everything's got to be hidden under plastic covers nowadays. Oh, she's really tucked in there. Morning, everybody. So it's a chilly morning here. My wife ended up calling me in after I found the battery yesterday and ended up hanging out with the baby for a few hours until about 1 in the morning. So back to talking about space. Dirt bikes living in the yard for this week. So let's head back into the garage here. I've already got the heater going out here to try to warm things up a bit. And that brings me up to another point. So we were talking about space. Like, the car is cozy in here. There's not a lot of room. Granted, I've got a lot of stuff out here. That being said though, like, heat is an issue. You do need warmth. I've got a little electric heater here. It's not great. Kind of does the trick. I definitely want to get a gas heater in here for this winter, but we'll see if that's in the cards or not time-wise. So yeah, I've seen a lot of posts online where people are like, hey, I'm trying to do this. It's been like -6 out every night. Can I let it dry overnight? No, you can't. Like, just don't bother. If you don't have the conditions to work in that are gonna like actually get your products to work, then don't waste your time throwing products on that aren't gonna cure properly and you're gonna have to strip off later anyway. For example, like something like this, if you have this going on and you don't have the time, the place, or the money to work on it, just, I don't know where I'm going with this, but don't do it. Whew, let's take a minute here. Garage Phil wasn't happy. I don't think he'd had a second coffee yet. Editing Phil's had a second coffee. He's in a better mood. So, I was being a little bit blunt there in the filming, but I wasn't being wrong. I have been accused quite often of gatekeeping online when I'm trying to help people, tell them how to do things properly, and then people get really defensive when it turns out it's going to cost more money than they think to do it properly. Unfortunately, Autobody repairs can't be done with rattle cans. They're simply not designed to be used for repairs and come out perfectly. I've rattle can full cars before, but I was fully aware that it wasn't going to turn out like a brand new car, and I wasn't going for it. I was doing a full urban camo job on my old 97 Jetta, and I was super happy with it. Let's see if I can throw a picture on here for you. If you don't have the conditions to work in, if you don't have the proper materials, you're not going to get a finished product that looks like it was done properly or like it came from the factory. And that's just a simple fact of the matter. There's no getting around that. I spent 3.5 years in the trade before I was even able to spray my first job at home, being this one. And because of that, I have very little sympathy when people get really upset when people try to help them online, and then they get very defensive about like, oh, I don't have this kind of money to do this. And it's like, well, you know what? I spent years saving to be able to do this in the garage, and I still have a subpar setup as far as it goes. A lot of people have fancier setups in their garage, but I made this one work. So it is what it is. Let's get back to the filming and enjoy. And luckily I didn't end up disconnecting the battery last night because this car does have an electronic hatch on it. So we got that open. We're gonna start doing a little bit of disassembly here, and then we get into the electronic stuff, then we'll disconnect the battery. So one thing you didn't see me do on camera, simply because my camera is my phone, is I was taking pictures of where all my fasteners go. That way when we reassemble everything, it's easy to put that back together. I'm not gonna be getting too in-depth on the disassembly and reassembly bit here. I'm not trying to make a vehicle specific video, more just showing how the repair is done. So I'm just going to throw you guys in a time lapse as I disassemble everything, and then we'll bounce back on. So we've got our corner disassembled here now. It was actually kind of nice. I didn't have to remove the whole bumper. I haven't worked on one of these before, but it's nice they just have the one painted cap on the end here, so that makes it nice and easy for us. We don't need to remove the full bumper. I will be removing the other one. It does have some gouges in it. I'm not going to bother showing you guys that because it would be kind of pointless, but yeah, so we got this off. As you can see, there's a little hidden damage here. There's a few kinks in here that aren't supposed to be here, so we'll straighten all that out too when we're repairing the visible section of the quarter. So I'm gonna get the other side disassembled and then we'll go from there. Something I failed to mention as well is that this is my first time doing any kind of auto body repair in my garage. So there's a lot of issues we can run into, being that it's not a controlled environment like a spray booth or something. We might get tons of fish eyes, we might get a whole bunch of dirt in our job that's gonna need polishing out or even respraying. And that's one of the things about doing stuff at home like this, is that when you don't have a controlled environment, you can't really expect perfect results. Even in a professional spray booth, you should never expect perfect results. There's always going to be like a couple dust nibs here and there. No matter how hard you try to keep the booth clean, yourself clean, your guns clean, whatnot, stuff happens. So before we get into this and start stripping paint off, we're going to assess what we actually need to do here. So I'm just going to take some thinner on a paper towel here and we'll wipe off this paint transfer. That's a really common question I see online, is like, how do I get rid of paint transfer? This is a automotive gun wash, so you can buy this at an auto body repair store. Usually it's sold by like 5-gallon drugs though. So just some light paint thinner, and I'm not getting too aggressive with the rubbing here, and even so, it's leaving a little bit of a dull finish there. Nothing drastic, but that might need a polish out if you were to do that on something that you weren't planning on painting. So just something to keep in mind. So as you can see, most of that was transfer on there, so it's all coming off quite nicely. Perfect. And I'll just note that I probably should have been wearing gloves there. It's not good to handle solvents and stuff without gloves on, so I'll be sure to do that in the future here. All right, so as you can see, we got some pretty good kinks here. The most challenging section of this repair, I think, is going to be getting this body line here, this edge, to line up to where it needs to be, because this is in, I want to say, a good 3/16 of an inch that way, possibly a little bit more. As well as down here, this is in quite a ways, so that's going to be a challenge pulling this out with what I have for tooling in the garage here. We'll get into that in a bit here. This is where it'd be really nice to be able to throw some wiggle wire on there and do a pull on it with a tower, using like a T-track system in the floor, or even just an older style frame rack. But yeah, so I think what we're going to do, we're going to try to put some pressure on here, maybe get some wiggle wire on there and use a slide hammer to pull it out, and we'll see what happens. And one other thing I should mention is when you're doing a repair on metal, first out, last in is the way you want to remove dents. For the most part, there are exceptions, but you generally, so like, say we had a big dent right in the middle here, you don't want to go and just grab in the middle. You want to work your way around, slowly pulling it out. Otherwise, if you pull from the middle, get it level, then you start pulling the dent all the way around, then you're going to end up with a nice high spot in the middle. So this is a little more complex than that, as you can see. So we have a huge kink here. This is actually all supposed to be flat here. This goes out quite a ways and then back in. So I'm hoping as I pull on this, I'm going to be tapping down on this, relieving some of that stress and hopefully bringing that back in a bit. And same thing with down here. This is actually out from where it needs to be right here. So as we pull here, we're going to tap on this, and then we do need to do some pulls, minor pulls in here and whatnot. So yeah, let's get to it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut off today's video there today, guys. I realized I didn't really accomplish anything in regards to the actual bodywork today. It was just sort of nattering at the camera. However, in the next video, we're going to get right into the bodywork. I'm going to do my best to have that video edited in the next week or two, so hopefully we'll get some more info to you right away here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time.